everyone, and welcome to Babies with Knives. I'm Alice Peng, aka Lala Twiddle. Above me is Brandon Powers, my ever-present co-host. How are you doing, Brandon?
I am excellent. I am so excited about what we're going to get involved in today. I came across Lost Legend the other day on Kickstarter, and so happy that we're getting to do this.
And segueing to that, we have the creator of Era, Lost Legend, Ed Jowett, above at the very top there in the VIP slot. How are you doing, Ed?
I'm not sure I deserve a VIP slot. I'm doing great. Thank you very much. It's fantastic to be here with you guys. There is nothing I love more than playing one of the games that I've created with people who really want to try it. So, fantastic. Win
Awesome.
For everyone.
Well, today we're going to be doing a character creation for this game that's currently on Kickstarter, so this is just a preview for everyone to see. So Ed, why don't you tell us a bit about what we'll be creating and about the game?
Yeah, absolutely. So the game is really my love letter to Final Fantasy. I have loved the games for a long time. I've played many of them. Not quite the same ones as Brandon, it appears, our conversation revealed. But I will attempt to overcome that failure. I love the intricacy of the story, and I've tried to build a world which sort of lets you do many of the things that a lot of Final Fantasy fans would think of as definitively Final Fantasy. So things like summons, things like the kind of cool limit break stuff, stuff like the world itself is built with kind of that sort of adventure in mind. So, there'll be a lot of familiar elements. There's the giant evil corporation that rules the world. There's the world-ending plots, probably, that you may or may not come across in the old one-shot that we're going to do. Kind of importantly, the thing that differs between this and maybe some other games that have tried to echo Final Fantasy is I followed my own path a little bit, and I focused on trying to make it a unique gaming experience. One of the things that I've done is I've split characters into two types. So there are corporeal characters, which are sort of your humans. There are actually three races. So there are humans, there are the cat-like Sen, and there are the lizard-like Goyth. And, these characters can interact with the world. They'll be the ones that carry weapons. They'll be the ones that sort of hit things hard, run around, and so on. And then there are the Ethereals, which are the other part of it. And they're a separate entity from another dimension who can only manifest in the dimension of gameplay when a crystal pierces the skin of a corporeal character. So these Ethereals are the source of magic in the world, so they're the only ones able to use magic. They are sort of akin to the summons in that they can manifest, becoming kind of multiple times their normal size and casting very powerful magic. And, together these characters sort of make a very formidable fighting force. And what we're going to be doing today, we're going to be creating one ethereal and one corporeal, and then we play tomorrow, we're actually going to fill in the other side of each of those characters. So the ethereal and the corporeal we do today are not going to be the two that are linked. We're going to do one ethereal, one corporeal, and then the other half of each of those pairings we'll explore tomorrow.
Fantastic. Well, then I will be creating the ethereal character, a white mage. Brandon, what about you?
I am going to be playing or making the corporeal character, which is defined as a gun mage. I'm going to be the gun part of it. My partner is going to be the mage part of it.
Awesome. Well, why don't we start with Brandon, who's going to make his half of the duo for tomorrow.
All right.
Okay. How do we do this?
So it's actually very, very simple. So I always start from the character, and anyone who's read any of my books will know I'm a big believer in the personality of the character should drive the stats of the character. I don't think you should come up with the stats first and then build the personality around it. That's just my philosophy in terms of the way that I like to play. So what we'll do is we'll start with the character sheet for the corporeal. Okay, so Brandon, obviously in the top of the character sheet, we've got the bar, which is about your character. So player, I think you can probably figure out on your own. In terms of the race, as I said, there are three kinds of races. They are primarily mechanically similar at the moment. Do you have a preference between Sen, Goyf, and human?
Well, while you were talking about it, you were saying the humans are pretty aggressive. The Goyf, which are kind of a lizard people, are not near as aggressive, and the cat people are kind of a mix. I'm thinking that I'm going to go with human because in most games it's kind of the default that, well, there's other crazy races, especially in Final Fantasy. Humans is what you're going to run into the most, and also that aggressiveness paired with the brief setting that you gave us, that we're kind of the defenders of a small village, really said human to me.
And you completely reminded me that I totally forgot that I said before we started. You guys are going to be the corporeal and ethereal. There are two pairs of those. You guys are going to be the defenders of a small village, which will be the start of the adventure. So you're a human, and this particular character sheet will encourage you to sort of have a, well, we can start with name or we can start with hobbies and quirks. What's your preference?
So for a quick backstory on them, just with what you were talking about right as we were starting about evil corporation and such, as well as the reason I'm using guns is because my partner Alex, he said gun mage when asked for a character, and so but going with that, I really saw kind of like the retired military person who is kind of trying to go back to their simpler life of farming in the village and things like that, and is only really called in because they're Liam Neeson. They have a certain set of skills that are going to be useful. So for hobbies, it's hobbies. I'm thinking kind of like the simple life stuff, separate from killing, but that idealized pastoral life.
So what particularly do you think would be a hobby that this character would embrace?
Fishing, the type of fishing that Jack from Stargate does.
Right. Yep. With no pond. With a pond with no fish.
Exactly. Yep. This.
A pond with no fish, except there's fish at the end, so you gotta wonder.
Well, they did screw with the timeline, so it's no one's fault.
They
right?
did. Brandon,
I love that little thing.
I'm picturing the Reverend from Firefly now.
Oh.
Shepherd Book. Right. Now, a quirk is a negative personality trait. It can be kleptomania. It can be overly aggressive. But it's likely to have some kind of effect on the way your character behaves.
I would, since I'm kind of looking at that retired, I'm gonna say crotchety. Kind of just generally sort of disagreeable and such. Yeah,
just sort of I like it. Right. Height, weight, age, pretty straightforward.
So I'm thinking 45 is, a little bit older. It's not as old as it used to seem. 5'8", so he's not the biggest guy, which is one of the reasons he relies on firepower rather than muscle power. And a little bit heavy set, so like 190 pounds.
Okay, awesome. So we've, through doing all this, we've built up the concept, which is the bottom left of this box. He's clearly ex-military, retired, doesn't want the complexity that came with, I guess, being part of Stardust. Stardust Incorporated is the name of the company. Now, the war only ended a couple of decades ago. I
now have the picture of, oh my gosh, and I can't remember, Sean Connery from Watchmen for your character.
Sean Connery? It was not in Watchmen.
Wait,
no, but I know the guy you mean.
The guy I mean is the guy with the retired sniper.
Night Owl.
Huh?
Yeah, the retired Night Owl,
yeah,
right?
retired.
Yeah.
Oh,
I swore that was Sean Connery, but never mind. I'm stupid. I'm trying to remember the actor now.
I have no idea on the actor, but I liked him by all means. I watched that section just a couple months ago.
So, I have a question. Did you work with Stardust? Were you on Stardust's side, or were you on an opposing side?
So Stardust is the evil corporation that's ruining things?
Well, yes and no. I mean, they're also the supplier of power and TV and, prepackaged food and,
I would
that
say
sort of
I was
stuff.
probably on Stardust's side, but I realized I was on the wrong side, and that's kind of one of the reasons that I'm returning home to, live that simpler life.
Okay, awesome. So, I would call the faction X-Stardust, then.
Okay. And Brandon, I'm sorry, I totally flipped the movie in my head. I meant League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Sean Connery. Yes, that's the character I was picturing for you. I'm retired. I'm sitting out in the middle of nowhere. What do you mean I need to go be a hero?
So we now need to name our character.
What pops into my head is based on the lizard people, but I'm going to go with it, and so I'm going to call him Gothan.
Gothan. Actually, yeah, okay. So, what I'll do is I'll let you think about your backstory a little bit while we do the tree, and then maybe you can tell me a little more about Gothan and sort of how he interacts within the community. Because, it's a small village. And he is grumpy. So, next we're going to have a look at the shotgun tree, and what we've agreed is that you're going to play as a sort of dual pistol kind of gun mage, but I don't see that as a serious problem. Shotgun is an approximation, I would say. That's the best approximation for what sort of thing you're talking about.
They both use two hands, so at that point, you can do it as flavor.
And you can put both guns together and fire them to make a big shot. It's fine.
It works.
So, with every tree, what you do is you start right in the middle. There's a big box that says the name of the weapon, so in this case, shotgun. And what happens is you'll start with all of the levels in the things that it says. So you'll start with 2 strength. Yep.
And that is counting the already filled-in bubbles on those on the traits abilities, whatever they're called in this, right?
Yeah. So they're called attributes on the left-hand side there. And where they're filled in already, you include that in the count. So you'll go up to 2 strength, 3 stamina, 2 dexterity, 3 wits, and 2 luck.
Okay, so I'm on a corporeal shirt. I'm on a corporeal sheet. I see power, int, charisma, willpower, stamina, dex, wits, luck. I don't see strength. Am I not looking in the right area?
You're on an ethereal sheet.
No, he is on the corporeal sheet.
Corporeal.
The corporeal sheet that we're showing.
I have a typo.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I have a typo. Power should read strength. I'm very sorry.
As we mentioned,
power should read strength.
As we mentioned, this is a preview. This is not the final edit that you will be getting in the store. So now you know that there's this edit that you need to make.
These things happen during game development. This is not massively uncommon. The difference actually is that the Ethereals don't have strength because they can't interact with the world. They have power, and clearly somehow, as we made the character sheets, something got a bit mixed up. Mm-hmm. Hopefully the Ethereal one does say power. We'll see. So yeah, 2 strength, 3 stamina, 2 dexterity, 3 wits, and 2 luck.
And again,
all the rest should remain on
power
one
is strength for people that were viewing the character sheet. Awesome. And yes, by the way, the tree is showing for our viewers right now.
Great. And all of the rest are at 1. So you've got 1 intelligence, 1 charisma. Let me see if I can get this right from memory. 1 willpower, and that's it. 1 intelligence, 1 charisma, 1 willpower, I think.
Okay. And then for my skills type stuff, I get 2 investigation, 1 melee, 1 survival, and 3 gunnery.
Yeah. And those are the things you all start with just by nature of being a shotgun guy.
Cool. And now we diverge into the rest of the tree a bit.
Yeah. Now's the fun bit. So what you get to do next is you get to pick 10 points, branches that you want to move along. And what you'll notice, if you look at the tree, is that there are a variety of options. So on the right-hand side, it's kind of explosives. Sort of you can make like explosive shots with what you're doing. You can even learn to like do a limit break satellite strike, where like just this random satellite just shoots the thing because Final Fantasy. I'm not going to lie, that's really the only reason.
I'm not saying that you're wrong in any way.
And on the left-hand side, we've got kind of the faster shots. We've got a bit more gunnery skill. We've got a bit of larceny in there, a bit of stamina. Sort of like the general, I'm going to get down and dirty kind of brawler with guns. And finally, at the bottom, what we've got is we've got the kind of the finesse. We've got the cool shots. We've got the aimed shot. You know, you take your time, you gain the number of, you know, increased accuracy, that kind of stuff. So you can go into all of them. Anything which is done, so anything which is converted to used, you can then branch out from there. So you could branch out in all three directions a little bit. You could go heavily into one area. It's totally up to you.
So, couple questions, just looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, some of the joiners between them have a number associated with them. Is that the number that it takes to make that bridge?
Exactly. Yep.
Okay. So some of these are more expensive than others.
Indeed. And yeah, so you're already at 3 gunnery, so getting a 4th gunnery is actually quite expensive.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's an opening bridge that takes 3 cost in there.
Yeah.
Next question is on some of these specific abilities. First of all, limit breaks are single attacks that do more damage plus a bonus, or do damage plus a bonus, it says.
Correct.
How do you trigger a limit break in?
So you have to be at low health. Final Fantasy VIII style. I thought that was the easiest. So basically, when you're at low health, you're allowed to say, for your turn, I'd like to try and do a limit break. You roll a d10. If you hit the correct threshold, you will be able to do a limit break.
So, on the right tree, we talked about explosives, and there's the limit break for explosive ammo. Is there any other way in there to make your ammo explode, or is it only at that low health kind of thing?
So that is the only way to make your ammo explosive ammo.
Okay.
However, you are a gun mage, so there is no reason why your mage cannot cast fire on your weapon, at which point you then fire and you have effectively explosive rounds.
That's a cool concept. Fast guns in the left tree. What does that do?
That allows you to fire twice in one turn under certain circumstances.
Okay, wrestling with giants.
What will happen is you'll take a little bit of damage when you do that.
Gotcha.
Right?
Wrestling with giants.
So
Same
wrestling
tree.
with giants is a thing which actually boosts brawl. And what it does is it means it's easier for you to break an enemy's neck. If you ended up in a situation where you couldn't use your guns, you'd be able to still break their neck.
Okay, workhorse, which I'm not certain which tree that was on now.
So
I saw
workhorse.
It's on the right
Workhorse
tree.
Gives you an increased encumbrance, so you can carry more equipment if you want to.
Okay. And then blast kill in the right tree.
Blast kill.
Like
kill,
silent
blast
killer,
kill.
it
Let's see if I can
says.
remind myself. Ah, right.
Yeah.
So under certain circumstances, so silent killer is actually a thing that exists in my other games, and I've clearly put that there for a reminder for me. Blast kill, what it does is it's basically going to reduce the kill threshold of an enemy, making it easier to kill them when they're already at half health or less. So you can sort of finish them off with the blast kill.
How do you define
Awesome.
a threshold? Does that mean AC or hit points, or what kind of combination of it in this type of system?
So when I refer to a threshold, referring to the mechanics in Era D10, Era D10 is a multiple D10 dice pool system. When you roll your number of dice, which is usually your attribute plus your skill number of dice, you count the pips. you will need to achieve a threshold for success. That is often 7, but it varies depending on how hard or easy the action is.
Okay. Cool.
And so I see that from Workhorse you can actually get all the way over to the left tree, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So I think I'm going to start on the right tree, grab +1 survival, the +1 willpower continuing to the right, spend 2 points to get Workhorse, that's 4, and I kind of think that as that military guy, having that increased load is, he has to pack a lot.
And you can load up on armor and
to
other
carry
things.
them.
So you have possible directions there.
So that's going to blow 4 of my points to get all the way over to Workhorse. What does Wits do in this? I've got high Wits to start with.
Yeah, Wits is, I would say, so there is no link between any attribute and any skill. And I would say that there is, more often than not, I will say Wits and Gunnery. I wouldn't always say that, but I will often say that. I don't generally consider Gunnery a dexterity skill.
Okay. Well, that just increases my desire for the Wits, which I was planning on making that jump over to the left tree for that +1 Wits so that I can get to that +1 Gunnery.
Yep.
Which will take me another 2 points. So at that point, I am down 6. I've got 4 points left. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, let's grab the fast guns from the left tree, and then we're going to jump.
Is a specialty that goes in the specialty box.
Okay. So, there's the specialty box. I'm just note papering mine right now,
that's
and then going to fill it in.
Yeah. So that's 3 left.
Yep. So I'm going to jump back over to the right tree, and so the first one on that is survival. I'm going to go down to get the willpower, explosives, and then blast kill, which works like silent killer.
Yeah.
And that would be all of them.
That would be all of your points.
I was super tempted to get the explosive ammo, but that was kind of expensive, and I really like that bonus gunnery that I could get by jumping to the far tree as well as Workhorse.
So that's one of the fun things about the trees, because depending on what you want to do, you really do have a lot of breadth of choices. And the other thing that's worth bearing in mind is leveling up is actually fairly frequent. You'll run into crystals quite a lot. Not constantly, but during a session that I ran in one particular playtest, people sort of accumulated 20 crystals each. So there's a lot of choices to be able to then grow that out. It's worth mentioning. I don't think it'll come up in our one shot, but it's worth mentioning that in order to get another entire tree, you just have to spend 30 crystals. So if you decided you wanted to be a shotgun guy or a pistols guy and also have a two-handed sword, you can do that. You just have to spend 30 crystals.
Or if you want a shotgun axe.
That's very cool.
Or maybe, on the off chance you decided that a gunblade was a thing that you wanted to do, you may possibly be able to do that. I can neither confirm nor deny that I've actually played that, and it was great fun.
Now, as a question, because I went through here and just kind of picked some abilities that I thought were cool and have not looked, let alone seen all the other ones. If you wanted to make more of the engineer type person that's using a gun, is that in this tree that I didn't notice? Or is that something else that you'd have to work on?
There is a separate tree that covers the technical and social skills. Skill tree. So there are two, there's a technical tree and there's a social tree. And the social tree actually works for both ethereals and corporeals, because they get social skills as well. And the technical tree only is for corporeals because it involves interacting with the world. So in each of these trees, you only get 4 points.
Okay, so it's not the same points that I'm looking at on my shotgun tree.
No, you get 10 on the shotgun tree, you get 4 on the technical trees, you get 4 on the social trees.
So
Okay,
corporeals
awesome.
will end up with more than ethereals. Because
Corporeals will end up with more points than ethereals because they are expected to do a wider range of tasks.
Okay. I'm assuming there's going to be something that balances us out on the ethereal side, and I look forward to seeing that.
There is, absolutely.
Cool.
And when you get to leveling, the crystals they go into any of the 3 trees.
Yeah, wherever you want them to go,
Gotcha.
you just put the crystals there. So if you, for example, decided you're going to be an ace engineer, right? On the tree, there's engineering 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you need to spend 3 crystals to get the specialist. You can't get that at character creation. You absolutely can later, and while someone else might be leveling their weaponry or their magic.
Awesome.
If you don't have a skill, the personal, technical, or interaction, is there a penalty, or is it just that you're only rolling the statistic that goes with it?
So there is a penalty. What you'll do is you roll the attribute and luck. Luck is your unskilled skill. However, your threshold is increased usually by +3. So where it would normally be a 7, you've got to roll 10.
I don't suppose dice explode in this game.
Dice do explode in this game.
Oh, cool.
Yes. I love exploding dice.
Me too.
I love exploding dice too. Any excuse to roll more dice.
Now I need to play more Era.
I can't afford it, but I have to know, what is the specialist?
So the specialist, what it does is it gives you the opportunity to choose an area of engineering that is your specialty, right? So you will go, oh, I am a specialist at building walls. Okay, cool. You now have double dice whenever you're building a wall.
Okay.
Flat double whatever you'd normally be rolling.
All right. Earlier, I asked you a question about alchemists.
Yes.
But I don't see a technical skill or any other skills that make me think alchemy. And you said that you were going with throne for their weapon. Is it just built into their tree?
It's built
that
into
kind of
that
stuff?
tree. Yeah.
Awesome.
So things like Riku in Final Fantasy X, she had the mix skill. Things like that are what go in the throne tree.
All right, so I think that I'm going to go with 3 up in engineering. I will do 1 in medicine. I'm not the medic, but with my history, I've dealt with needing to fix people up. Since I'm looking at being a crotchety, grumpy kind of person, definitely not seduction. I'm going to go with intimidation. What is esteem?
So esteem, so there are basically, all of these skills have their own different way of working. So commercial covers both commercial knowledge and also bribery, right? So it covers that interaction. Oh, just look the other way this time. Esteem covers you are known. People know who you are, and you can convince them on that basis. And it's unique among the social skills that you can use to convince people, because instruction you can't, in that it's not an opposed role. Every other social skill is an opposed role. If your esteem is with the right faction, and, if you were to take esteem, I would say, yeah, absolutely, you're going to have some esteem with Stardust, because you're a retired Stardust guy.
So this is like in the Firefly TV show, you see esteem, and they might have a reputation that they don't like,
Do
but
know who I am?
they're known for this.
Jane,
Yeah,
the
don't
man
you know
named
who I am?
Jane. Yes, exactly.
You're going to do this for me, right?
Man
Cool.
named Jane and the city with the statue and all. But yeah, it sounds like it's basically, the tag of, do you know who I am?
Instruction allows you to transfer skills to another character. Intimidation, persuasion, and seduction are all pretty obvious.
All right, so I'm going to go with 2 intimidation and 2 esteem. That I'm known. I was effective during the war, and it's not something that I'm necessarily happy about, which probably leads to that grumpy nature that I see for the individual.
And that's it.
That becomes an interesting question. What is faker? For someone who goes up high in esteem.
In esteem. So I said that if you're the right kind of person, with that faction, then they'll believe you. If you go high enough, you can fake it at a penalty. You can go, yeah, I'm definitely a Stardust officer. Yeah, do what I say because I'm a Stardust, and actually be convincing when you're doing it. This would be kind of inspired by Final Fantasy VII when Cloud pretends to be the soldier. But if it instead pretended to be a sergeant and had told people to do things, they might have done it, right?
Mm-hmm. Cool. So at that point, we are done with the corporeal character that Brandon's working on, correct?
One last question.
Yeah.
I follow on the technical and the interaction what the brackets of 1, 2, and 3 is. It's how expensive that skill is. But on the personal as well as on gunnery and explosives, you've got that same breakup of the brackets of 1, 2, and 3. But aren't there multiple costs that you might have to pay for those? Because, like, my first gunnery option would cost me 3.
Yeah. So actually, you're dead correct, and those are going to be removed. They are part of this draft of the sheet, and the 1, 2, and 3 have been a thing in every other era. So what happened is we took the base of the other sheets, but I recently, as in a month ago or so, decided that what I was going to do was actually build that cost into the power tree, into the skill tree that you're working through, rather than have you worry about, oh, here are some cheap skills and I can get them lots, but I can't actually level up.
Gotcha. Thank you much for the answers. I'm loving filling this sheet out.
You're very welcome indeed. Filling in little dots is actually very therapeutic.
Oh,
like
yes,
anyone out there who's wondering, it's incredibly therapeutic.
World of Darkness taught me to love it.
Yes.
Right, so shall we move on to our white mage?
Yes, let's work on the ethereal. So, going back to the character sheet, I now am showing the ethereal character sheet for everyone. This is the character I'll be working on, and this will allow us to be following along a little more closely. I'll be switching since I don't have access to Brandon's feed. So, for the ethereal, tell me about what kind of backgrounds I should be thinking about and looking at. What is the difference between the corporeal and the ethereal for people who are just dying to know?
So I should say that I actually did an entire video on what ethereals are that I actually released yesterday.
Oh.
So I'd strongly recommend maybe stick that link when this goes live.
I definitely will. Make sure that it's going to be in the description for everyone.
So basically an ethereal is a being from another dimension.
Okay.
Okay. And they are, I'm trying to think how to put it. They are only able to manifest in our world when, as I said, a crystal pierces the skin of a corporeal. Mm-hmm. And that is specifically a corporeal that is not already a possessed. Because if the corporeal is already a possessed and they gain a crystal, that just builds the power of the ethereal that already is there.
Okay.
So ethereals are... So, some ethereals have barely ever been in our dimension. Some of them are very new, very young, and some of them are even quite old and have never been in our dimension. And the ethereal dimension is all they've ever. Some of them have been here every single cycle, and every cycle, I should explain, it's roughly every 50 years normally. The ethereals will appear. The balance of power changes. People suddenly are possessed, which means that they have massive amounts of power. Empires rise, empires fall. There's a big war that envelops the whole world, and then after that war, the ethereals just kind of vanish, and no one really knows why.
Okay. So given that information, I have this image of this gremlin-esque little Furby kind of character for the ethereal. Pink and purple gremlin Furby kind of character.
I love it. I love it. I expect fan art from anyone watching this now, because it's just too good. Right. Okay. So usually ethereals are roughly the same size as people, but there's no reason why they have to be. I mean, you can be any shape or size you want.
Well, I was picturing that I'm generally about this size, like the size of a stuffed animal, and maybe, as time goes on, maybe I'll manifest as bigger and smaller as different situations occur. But, because if I'm really, really big, I can look very intimidating and such like that. If I'm my little stuffed animal that I'm being, carried around or taken around kind of thing, it's, I don't look so much that way. So.
Okay. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to size you as 5.
Okay.
And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick your quirk in as variable size.
Okay.
Right? So, you'll just randomly vary your size depending on your mood.
Yeah, and
right?
Yeah. That sounds great because if I start getting angry,
if you get into a bad mood, you'll start growing and if you're kind of pacified, then well, you can move through objects anyway because you're an ethereal, so you are that's not a problem. But your head will be sticking through the ceiling, and you'll be looking through the floor. You'll be like, what's going on?
Yep.
Okay, so quirk variable size.
Sounds good. So, and I was figuring that from my history, I definitely want to be new-ish, like not brand new, but I'm young because I'm just a starting character. I'm young in my breach into this world. I was thinking that...
So, this is the first time you've been here?
Yes, it'd be the first time I'm here. I think that, to me, this world would be pretty wondrous in everything that I see. I picture the world that she came from, or he came from, I'm not sure which yet, as being a bit desolate and barren, having basically the world the people having destroyed the world kind of thing. It's a very post-apocalyptic world.
It's not quite that. It's more, so the ethereal dimension is much, everyone is crowded in.
Right.
Like you want to get out. And if this is your first time out, then all you've ever seen is the next person's backside in your face, basically.
Okay.
If you've ever seen the Star Trek, the original series, The Mark of Gideon.
Yes, I have.
That's kind of what I imagine the ethereal plane is like.
Okay.
So it's just full, right? So the idea of being able to get out and manifest in our world is actually significant and quite big. And I feel like, based on what you're saying, maybe, the person that you're possessing went out, fought a monster, maybe under the guidance of the shotgun character. I forget his name. What's his name again?
Gothin.
Gothin. So maybe under the guidance of Gothin, went out and actually fought, and then ended up, either accidentally or deliberately finding a crystal and becoming a possessed. And you're like a brand new possessed who kind of came through this crystal, and you're like, oh wow, okay, that's a thing. And maybe it's just been a couple of months since you manifested for the first time in our dimension.
That sounds great.
Awesome.
So, as for faction, what would my faction be at that point?
I think your faction is non-aligned, neutral, independent. Any of those. I think that you are factionless. You're just kind of... I guess you're loyal to the village, but you definitely don't intend to stay there forever, would be my assumption. You'll stay for a good long while. You aren't done yet, but the idea of not exploring the world, I imagine, would be
very difficult for me. I find this place wondrous, and I want to check it out. Okay, cool.
But equally, you also know that you haven't found everything that's even in the village yet, let alone wider world.
Right, and so right now I'm willing to stick around because there's cool stuff here.
Right.
Okay.
So your height is going to be quite variable.
Yeah, height and weight, I figured I was just leaving blank because we have the variable size quirk.
Yeah, weight is basically 0. Like, you don't weigh anything, you can't enter the world.
Okay.
Age, we're now talking quite young, aren't we? But I don't know how you want to define your age. That's really up to you.
Okay. I picture the race that I come from probably is a long living race, and so maybe I'm 40 years old, but still treated like still a child kind of thing,
The ethereals are basically immortal,
right,
with the exception of, I'll talk about compatibility when we move down to that area of the sheet, but with the exception of a really nasty circumstance, ethereals are basically immortal.
And given that, I basically have been living in a very sheltered existence with, being crammed in, not having much room and such, and not having explored much. I'm gonna go with that. I'm 100 years old, but having that naivete of, oh my gosh, this.
Oh my god, it's new. There's
Yep.
actually something different in the universe other than what I experienced.
Exactly.
Yeah, I get that 100%.
Okay.
In terms of a hobby, what do you think you would have accumulated over 100 years? I'm wondering about word games. I don't know. A thought?
I don't remember. Am I making this for someone else, or am I making this character for me?
This is for you.
Okay, this one was for me, for the preach and for tomorrow. Yeah, I can do word games.
Word games?
I can do
Yeah,
word games.
I mean, it's something you can do when you're jammed up against everyone else, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you should be able to fill in the concept quite easily at this point, I would think.
Yep. I already did.
We're missing a colon on name,
So,
but we do need a name.
I do have a name. My name is Thranik.
Thranik. I love it.
Thranik.
Fantastic. So, I'm just gonna, if you don't mind scrolling down, I'm just gonna talk you through compatibility.
Okay.
Which is actually quite an important factor. You begin with 4, so 4 of those boxes will be filled in.
Okay. Does it matter which direction I'm putting it in, or just
really.
left or right? Okay.
Not really.
Do I get 4 compatibility because it's on my sheet as well?
You will get 4 compatibility as well, yes. So, compatibility is based on ethereals and corporeals working together. And if you drop to 0 compatibility, you've basically pulled apart.
Okay.
When you get to 0, you'll snap back together. And that is so forceful that the two of you actually merge. The ethereal will become mortal, the corporeal will mutate, and both of you will go horrendously insane. You are no longer a playable character at that point. In fact, what happens is that's where the monsters that are in this world come from.
Oh, okay.
So imagine you're an ethereal that joins, like a badger rolls over and rolls over a crystal, right?
Mm-hmm.
This badger probably wants to go and eat, and the ethereal's like, no, let's do this. Let's go and do something. And the badger just can't understand it because it's not a sentient being. Gradually, they pull apart, they snap back together, they mutate, they become a creature. And this happens to all manners of creatures, which is where all of the monsters come from. The monsters, can then breed. They can become a race of monsters, and as a result of all of this, monsters generally prowl the world and are nasty.
Awesome. Well, then I have 4 to start with, and hopefully the person that I am possessing is compatible with me, so we don't turn into a monster.
Indeed. So on the spells to the right of it, you can cross out black and blue for the time being.
Right.
Because you're going to be a white mage.
Mm-hmm.
And while you have 10 crystals as a starting character, you are also able to spend your crystals to earn the tick boxes below. So you get 1 spell slot free. Anything after that, you have to spend crystals to have the spell slots.
Okay.
Okay?
And
so,
these are separate from the things I'm taking in my tree, correct?
No, they are part of what you're taking.
Okay, cool. So the cure
you've
spell
got a balance.
So the cure
right?
spell that I'm buying from the tree right now would be. Oh, okay, that's gonna be a problem. So I only have 1 spell slot accessible.
You have 1 automatic spell slot that you have. You can also switch stuff in and out, so you don't have to buy more spells.
Okay.
More spell slots if you don't want to, but you can only switch out of.
Okay, how do I buy more spell slots?
You spend a crystal instead of spending it in a tree, and that can be the social tree or the white magic tree.
Okay, I apologize if you mentioned it earlier and I didn't hear it because I was.
No, it's cool.
Okay,
it's fine.
So now that I know that I have 1 spell, we're gonna see how this tree works because, let's go and show everyone the white mage skill tree, which I was playing around with.
Well, but I mean, you can get more spells through the tree, right? Or is haste and confuse not considered spells?
Oh no, they're all spells.
Okay.
And shield is as well. To start with, as a white mage, white magic, you get 2 power,
Yep.
3 intelligence, 2 stamina, 3 willpower, 2 luck.
Okay, so starting from the bottom up. So I have 2 power, and
Yep.
I have 3 intelligence, so
Yep. That includes the one that's already in there
yeah.
So it's 2 total power.
Yep. 2 total power, and 3 total
3
intelligence.
total intelligence.
Yep. I'm doing that correctly. Stamina is going to be 2, so we'll add 1 more to the bubble. And willpower, I will add 2 bubbles. Willpower.
Mm-hmm.
And luck, I add 1 bubble.
1.
1 bubble.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then on the right-hand side, in the skills, you'll add 1 boost, 1 health, 1 investigation, handy.
Mm-hmm.
All in the top row.
Yep, I see that. Starting
1
from the
stealth.
bottom up, filling it like a
Correct.
vial. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And stealth.
1 stealth, 1 time.
And I wanted to ask you what time means exactly.
Time magic is haste, slow, that kind of thing.
Okay, cool. So.
And then dropping straight down, manifest and below stealth and time.
Already done on those. Fantastic.
Okay.
For my 10 points that I'm looking at spending, and let me go and show everyone the tree. I am looking at starting with the right tree, as people can watch on the video. I'm going to go 1 into haste. My second point will be into dexterity. My third point will go down into manifest. I will spend 2 more points to go into slow. Actually, I only need 1 point to go into slow.
No, it's 1 point to go into slow, yeah.
So, 1 point to go into slow. I read
That's
that
4
wrong when
so
I was
far.
planning. Yes, 4 so far. And then I will go 1 into investigation. That's 5. Let me fix something. And then I'm going to go manifest haste down.
So manifest mass haste, right?
Manifest mass haste. Oh wait, there's my mess up. I went into slow. I didn't need the investigation. I apologize.
All right. Okay. Undo the investigation. Gotcha.
Yep, undoing the investigation. So I had
So
it right the first
just
time.
to summarize, you've got haste, dexterity, manifest, slow, manifest, mass haste.
Yes, manifest mass haste. And then I was going to take, I didn't know the value of it or not, but it seems like it could probably be valuable given all this haste and slow that I'm doing. So I was going to spend the 2 points into +1 time. That brings me up to 7.
You realize there is a +1 time above haste, which you could get and save yourself a crystal.
Or you could get +1 dex, +1 time, to still
true.
spend the 2 if you wanted.
That's true. The one difference is that if I'm planning on forwarding into manifest change time, I do need to push it forward. And so given that
is true.
So it was which would mean that I need to go into the plus time deeper in than the wits, than manifest change time. I had a goal in mind.
Or you could manifest. You could go down 3 and 5, and
I
actually
see that.
that's a shorter route to get there.
That would be manifest 1. Yeah, I guess that would be in the long run if I'm going with manifest haste. Well,
Yeah, it's 1 cheaper that way.
Yeah, it's 1 cheaper, so I can just skip
But
that.
you avoid the time.
Right. I do.
But you can easily get the 1 extra time
elsewhere.
with the 1
Yeah,
because there's 1 above haste and there's 1 2 below haste.
Right.
So what does manifest do? When do you roll manifest?
Yeah.
So manifest is your summon attack, right? So what you'll do with manifest mass haste, which you've already taken, what will happen is you will go, I'm going to manifest now, and you literally you grow massive. You cast your haste on all of your friends, and then you fall unconscious. And as an ethereal, you've got to wait for natural healing to actually bring you back into consciousness.
Okay.
Because you can't be healed by anyone else.
So manifest seems important because it'll get me back in the fight sooner.
Manifest will not get you back in the fight sooner. No,
it will not. It'll just prevent me from. Oh, sorry. It'll make
it more likely your manifest is successful.
Okay.
So I mean, you could manifest and utterly fail. It's quite unlikely, but it could happen.
Okay. But do I get to roll my time on manifest mass haste because it's a time spell.
It is a time spell, and you will roll manifest, but not time, because it is a manifest.
But if it was just the first haste, she rolls time with that?
Correct.
Okay. So instead of buying time at 7, then I will go down and buy manifest, and that brings me up to 8.
Okay.
That brings me up to 8, and
You
then
really do
I'm
have
going
a goal in mind.
And then I'm going to spend 1 on the left tree buying cure.
Sure.
And I'm going to buy 1 in the bottom tree for shield.
Are you sure that's what you want to do? Because you only have 1 spell slot. You have health. You have cure, haste, and shield.
Yeah.
And you can only choose 1.
Yep. So
She also has slow. Is that not a spell slot?
Slow is 2 spell slots, in fact. So you cannot
it does
even
mark
equip
that it says 2 spell slots on the slow. So my plan there was originally, before I found out I will only be able to cast 1 of these, but you did say I can switch them out. I don't suppose I can spend any of my build point crystals in getting an extra spell slot, because if so...
By which you mean the social ones, yes, you can.
Okay. And is it going to be a 1-for-1?
It is 1-for-1.
Oh, fantastic. Then I know how I'm going to spend that. I am going to drop...
Here comes 4 spell slots and no social skill.
Nope, that's not true. I am going to drop shield for the moment.
Come on,
Okay.
Isn't inquisitiveness a social skill? What are you doing?
No,
What are you doing? What are you doing?
It's not.
Are you saying that I might be inquisitive, Brandon? So at that point, my last point on 10 would be going back to the beginning of the left tree and going up top to get the +1 wits that we were talking about. Or +1 time, sorry. +1 time that we were talking about. Yes.
Time. Gotcha.
Okay. And I'll be filling in the bubbles as we go in a little bit. I'm not filling them yet because I've been typing on a notepad. So again, that's going to be haste, dex, manifest, slow, and showing people on the thing. Then manifest mass haste. Then manifest 8. So the +1 manifest.
+1
is
manifest.
There. Yep. And then I go back and get the cure, and I get the 1 to time.
Yep.
Fantastic. So I'll be filling those bubbles in later. But right now, I'm going to go down and work on the spells for everyone to see. Oh yeah, sorry, right, okay, the spells in your sheet. Gotcha. Right.
So you can write them all in. You've only got the 1 spell slot, so you can choose which one you want that to be, and it can switch out. It doesn't matter.
So
now you were saying that slow is 2 spell slots. Now, is that because there's the 2 in parentheses there?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, so haste is 1, but then like...
kind of bad notation because this is an underwear, right?
Yeah, but I'm just wondering because cure and sleep and such don't have any of that notation that haste and slow seem to.
That's literally just a human error oversight. Cure is 1, shield is 1, sleep is 1.
Gotcha.
Okay. So
whereas hopefully, no, I didn't even do it. So if you wanted berserk, that's actually 2. It just I didn't do it properly.
What is on the southern tree? 1, 2, 3, 4 down, straight down, +1. I just get +1 to everything now. Yes.
No, I think that's. I hesitate to answer instantly. I think that's probably manifest or power.
Okay.
I just spotted that and figured, bringing it up might be helpful for you.
Yeah, no, as I said, these trees are, they've all been play tested, but it's what route you take. I've actually got one of my guys doing some tree search. Tree search. Well, no, really, tree search, as in calculating all possible routes through a brute force method, make sure everything is actually balanced. So he's starting to turn up exactly that sort of thing. What is this +1?
Awesome. So, so as far as I can tell, on my character sheet, there's nowhere to fill the bubbles in of haste, dex, etc. Well, of anything that's just directly that. Otherwise, I have to go and find the dex and all these things and just put it in. So my spells, the spells that I've learned through my tree that are not being active, I have to just put into like background or something or some sort of.
No, what I suggest you do is you actually put the spells in, but you just leave the boxes unticked if you don't have any boxes.
Okay.
Right. And then, and there are a number of boxes, and that way you can write slow between 2 boxes, and you'll know that you need to tick both boxes to do slow.
Okay, fantastic. So given the way that works right now, I'm going to leave that spell section blank since since I'm using the JPEG version that you sent. Um, and I am going to, well, for the skills, for the social skills, I've swapped us to that sheet. I was looking at a little bit higher on this, but I'm going to drop this to 2 persuasion, and I'm going to buy 2 spell slots.
Okay.
And I believe that's all my points. My character.
Oh, so now it's tell me what you're doing. Tell me what you're doing.
Please tell me what you're doing. I'd
persuading.
really like to know, because it sounds really interesting.
I'm inquisitive, but I'm also going to be persuasive. So tell me what you're doing. What you doing? What you doing? You want to tell me?
So as a question, I noticed that on the white mage tree that you don't jump from one branch to another like you do on my shotgun tree.
That's correct. You don't.
Is shotgun somewhat unique in that, or is it like some trees have it, other trees don't?
Every tree is different, right? So the blue magic tree looks very different to the white mage tree. The black magic tree and the white magic tree are vaguely similar, because they each have 4 areas that I kind of included in them. In the case of white magic, I felt like a jump wasn't appropriate. Again, that's one of the things that the tree searching is going to figure out. Okay. Is it fair? Is it not fair? My play tests have all been, yeah, it's great. It works fine. So you were asking earlier about how come Ethereals seem to get the short end of the stick when it comes to crystals. Mm-hmm. So there are 2 primary reasons for that. First of all, you might note on the right-hand side that there is a pain bar, and on the corporeal there is health and pain.
Cool.
Right?
Yep. So I don't die.
So you can't die. You can't die. All you can be is knocked unconscious. Secondly, you can't be hurt by most weapons. So what we were talking about the gun mage casting, having fire cast on the weapon and then firing it, that would hurt you. But if the gun were to just fire at you, that wouldn't. It would just pass through you.
Okay.
So you are by nature very tough. There's no limit to the number of spells you can cast. I mean, 1 per turn maybe, but there's no limit to the number of spells you can cast. So inherently you are more powerful. Mm-hmm. You're fundamentally different to a corporeal, and that is why you get fewer crystals to balance all of those things out.
Okay.
Now, there's one thing that I haven't done with you guys yet, and that is the derived stat. So you'll notice on the left-hand side, there are a whole bunch of arrows leading to things.
Yep.
Yes.
On both sheets. So it's very simple. Speed is dexterity plus strength or power plus size. You are all size 5, by the way. As I said, your size may vary, so I made speed a little white mage whose name I've forgotten already.
My name is Thranik.
Thranik. I'm going to have to note all this down or I won't remember it. So Thranik's size can vary, so your speed might vary as a result.
Okay.
So size is 5, speed is going to be the addition. So broadly, you add the arrows. Initiative in the middle right is wits plus willpower. Mm-hmm. Now, defense down the bottom is the lower of wits and dexterity.
Okay.
You'll notice the arrows are a slightly different pattern. You don't just join the 2 arrows, they join together. It's the lower of the 2. Notoriety is based on your backstory. So, Thranik, your notoriety is going to be 0.
Okay, my notoriety is 0.
I forget the shotgun guy's name. I remember it begins with G.
Gothan. It's Gotham where you just erase the last little bit of the M.
Got it. Gothan. Your notoriety, I think, is going to be 2. I think people have heard of you. Particularly as the person who left. Now, there's another thing that you get to have, Gothan. Your Thranik, your damage and kill are 0. You don't get to have armor.
Okay.
So damage and kill are modifiers to when someone tries to injure you. And Gothan, if you would like to have some armor, you actually have a fairly high encumbrance, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, I didn't mention encumbrance because I was looking at the wrong sheet. Encumbrance is strength plus stamina.
Yeah, so I've got 5, and then I've got workhorse, which you said affected that.
Plus 50% rounded down.
So 7 encumbrance.
7.
So my speed is going to be dex plus power, so that will be 4.
Plus size.
Plus size. But you said my size is variable, so I just put a V in
So
variable.
I would put 5 in size, and I'll modify it depending on if I think you're big and small and trying to be ambitious.
Okay,
So we have a base speed, and then we can modify it quite.
cool. So 5. Okay, so I'm a total speed of 9. Cool.
So Gothan, you in your main weapon in the bottom left, you could write in that you obviously have your pistols. They are going to be encumbrance 2. That's the first little box there.
Mm-hmm.
The damage is going to be 5, and the kill is going to be 7. Just FYI for everyone, those are the standard stats that I give to a shotgun as well. I'm really just modelling this as a cosmetic difference.
Okay.
Because I don't think it needs to matter.
Yeah.
So, Gothan, you can have some armor. You could maybe have some. You could have like an engineering kit because you've got 3 engineering, so you could have an engineering kit to boost your engineering skill. You don't have a lot of encumbrance. You got what was it? 7.
7.
So, what equipment would you like to have? You can have. Okay, so armor comes in 3 types. There's light armor, which doesn't restrict you a lot. As you get higher levels of armor, your dexterity is reduced because you have less maneuverability. So with light armor, you will have a maximum dexterity of 8 and a minimal bonus to kill modifier. So someone can kill you less easily. With medium armor, you'll have +1 damage, +2 kill, and you'll have a maximum dexterity of 4. And with heavy armor, you'll have +2 damage, +4 kill, and a maximum dexterity of 2.
So, since I'm at a dex of 2, heavy armor wouldn't be a bad thing to start with.
No, it's an
Except the
encumbrance of 4.
encumbrance.
So it's an encumbrance of 4. It's not light.
Yeah.
But you absolutely can manage it. How do you see the character? I'm kind of feeling like heavy, which is why I kind of indicated.
You dropped out. I'm kind of feeling, and then...
I'm kind of feeling like heavy armor might be the route, which is why I kind of indicated maybe heavy armor. It is 4 if you're 7 encumbered. Which
pistols are 2, which only will leave me 1, which depends on how much basically my kit that's primarily to tool around with my pistols would take.
I would let you have a basic engineering kit that we give you +1 on all engineering rolls, where it's, unless it's a knowledge roll or something, for 1 encumbrance.
Okay.
So, quick question.
So that sounds great.
So you said that for defense, we take the lower of the 2 dex or wits. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Just wanted to double check before I filled my number in.
No, that's absolutely fine. No worries.
Thank you. Awesome. Well, it sounds like I'm done with my character sheet, including derived stats. That's awesome.
So there we are. You did write your manifest attack in.
Yes, I did, for mass haste.
Great. And you had Gothan, you had one of the limit breaks, did you not?
Blast? No, I don't think I got those. Not. I got blast kill, fast guns, and then workhorse were my specials. Yeah. The limit break was just a little too expensive.
Yeah. So maybe you'll level up into it. We'll see.
Yeah. And another question. So let's say you start off and you're like, I really want this +1 gunnery, and so you spend 3 crystals on it, but then you end up doing the long way around and get that +1 wits that's next to it after going through workhorse and stuff. Do you end up getting 2 crystals back because you found a cheaper way?
At the moment, the answer is no. I do not intend to allow a cheaper way longer term. That's one of the reasons that I'm doing the sort of program approach to, is the tree balanced? The answer in this case is no. Maybe that loop should actually cost more crystals. That might be the answer in this case. As I'm sure anyone who's looking at this can see, it's not hard to appreciate that I've committed to deliver this game in about a year from. No, I lie. 8 months from now. There is a lot of possible options to go through the tree, and the idea is to get that balanced out. And I haven't quite got all the way there yet.
Okay, cool. Well, I look forward to seeing where it all goes, because right now it's really cool in its prototype. I'm looking forward.
There's one more thing that I've not done yet, which is the health and the pain.
Yes, please.
So in the corporeal case, you'll notice that there's one set of dots down the middle. So that is your stamina plus your size. In the ethereal case, there is obvious dots. What you'll do is you'll cross off the boxes as you take damage.
Okay.
So stamina plus size is the dots?
That's right.
Okay.
So I think in your case, I don't think you used your stamina. Problem is I haven't been filling in your sheets, so it's actually a bit hard for me to keep track.
Stamina of 3, so I end up at an 8.
Stamina plus
so
what? Sorry?
Size.
Size. Okay, great. I'm
now,
7.
what I will not do is, based on your size changing, I will probably not change the amount of health you have. So if you're at, 6 damage and you reduce size because you calm down, you aren't going to fall unconscious.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
I think that's just unfair. And this is one of the things about the Era D10 rule set. There's a lot of things that are open to GM interpretation. Mm-hmm. I've kind of gone off the books. This quirk that I've just invented for you doesn't exist. My expectation is that if a GM does that, they're going to account for it.
Well, maybe you should put it in the book.
I might, actually. I don't dislike the idea as a concept. I may well put it in the book.
Cool. Awesome thing about beta and alphas, you get to add and adjust things as we go. When you see new stuff.
So, as I remember, the dice system is just going to be grab our attribute and then grab the appropriate skill that we're using. In D10s, roll those, and target number is 7 or higher.
It's kind of the average target number is going to be 7, but depending on the difficulty of the action, like Old World of Darkness or New Shadowrun, the threshold actually adjusts.
Okay.
So if I think it's easy, then I'll only give you a 4 or a 5 threshold. If I think it's really, really difficult, it might be a 10. And then I mentioned about if you don't have the skill, maybe you have to roll attribute and luck. So maybe you end up in a situation where you're like, oh, okay, maybe I don't want to roll that because I'm quite at risk of fumbling. More ones than... I know World of Darkness does a thing where ones actually remove successes. That does not happen.
Yeah.
It only matters in this one if you have more ones than... So it makes the bell curve a bit different. So you can roll 4 successes and 3 ones, and it doesn't matter. If you roll 3 successes and 4 ones, then it's a fumble.
Cool. And based on how often it sounded like we could get crystals, it sounds like I can definitely be able to get that other half of my slow slot during play.
Absolutely.
So I just sent you my character sheet in Discord chat.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It looks beautiful, Alice.
Awesome.
I just want to say, making a character super fun. I love the tree.
Yes.
Like Alice was talking about, you get to see what you might want to build for. She had a definite goal. I really wanted that explosive ammo, but +1 gunnery and fast guns sounded like a lot of fun too.
Well,
so what I was going for was I wanted people to have to make choices as a starting character. Mm-hmm. And what you're describing is exactly what I was going for. So perfect. Because, you're like, oh man, explosive ammo, but... Oh.
Well, I'm going to take us off that, and we should probably do a quick close-up. Brandon, any thoughts before we go?
Oh, I was sharing them. I love this tree system. It excites me. I like this aspect of the 2 characters in that one body, and they're controlled by different people. I think it's an interesting evolution of the Wraith mechanic, Wraith the Oblivion, where you had the shadow that was your darker impulses and such. But that combines into, I forget the role-playing game's name, but it's the War Machine. It is just Iron Kingdoms, the War Machine role-playing game, where you took 2 different trees and you combined them to make your character. Now, that was all in one person's control, but that you get those 2 different aspects, and so you get a lot of variety, which, let's face it, Final Fantasy does a lot, and
Mm-hmm.
you get some real interesting concepts. Playing around with the tree, I mean, just looking at my shotgun tree here, I'm like, oh, I could have done this instead, and it's lots of fun. So I'm super excited to play tomorrow.
I'm very excited to play tomorrow as well. The tree system is awesome, but then again, I have a long history with video games that have tree systems, from Diablo to Final Fantasy to Path of
Skyrim.
Exile to Skyrim, and like about 16 billion other more. So I've gotten used to, here's my goal, let's get to that, and then I'll figure out the rest. WoW even as well. So you saw that with me, that I was like, I better figure out where I'm going. So I'm looking forward to it. Thank you so much,
And
Ed, for walking us
what
through
you were
this.
just talking about as well, on the interesting choices, like if you're going to play a D&D 3.0 Pathfinder type character or Pathfinder 1, if you're a fighter, power attack, and everybody says you need to get power attack to be able to do damage. Obviously, I haven't played this, but I didn't see something that told me that's what I absolutely need, and I think
So
that there
one
is
of the
interesting
things-
choices each way.
Yeah, one of the things I tried to do was, oh, you want to be the power bang bang bang? Cool. You want fast guns? You want to be like firing quickly? Also cool. You want to do you want to be kind of a sniper, and you wait and you wait. I mean, maybe you're a marksman rather than a sniper would be a better phrase for it. You can build that other part of the tree. So you kind of have these options, and every one of the options is different, and it'll build a different character feel, as different as Barrett is from Vincent in Final Fantasy VII, right?
Yes. Well, this sounds awesome. I'm excited to play tomorrow. Thank you so much, Ed, for coming and walking us through this. It was a very precise and concise walkthrough, and I appreciate that. And thank you all for watching Babies with Knives. Please don't forget to subscribe and like the video if you're interested in Era. Bye.
Also, tune in tomorrow.
Yes, tune in tomorrow, or when I post the next video. Bye, everyone.